Terminated, fucker!
Hello, carbon units. So, with the upcoming Terminator Dark Fate, I thought we'd better do a little video about one of my favourite franchises, The Terminator, and its sequels, particularly the latest releases, of which there are loads. Now, I'm going to show you some of those releases, some of the ones I own, and we'll have a little scroll through the latest database for some of the other releases that I don't have, which obviously I need because I need loads. It's not only latest I've got, it's DVDs and Blu-rays up the wazoo. But obviously Laserdiscs are the most interesting. Of course they are. So we'll talk a little bit about Terminator. So one of my favourite film franchises. The thought of a new one. When they announced it, well, when they announced James Cameron was coming back, pardon me, I was over the moon. We know that's complete bullshit. As far as I'm aware, he's not been on set one day. And also, it looks like there's a couple of writers, and, you know, I'm not saying that all movies that have multiple writers can go wrong, but more often than not, it's a recipe for disaster. And the closer it gets, I think November the 1st, we're looking at. We'll touch more on that later on. We'll get to Terminator Dark Fate. Let's talk about the OGs. So, I saw something that was quite interesting and struck me. There's a channel called Valverde Broadcasting. They do a lot of reviews and retrospectives, etc. They were talking about how on the lead up to Terminator 2, that it was almost marketed at children or younger people. There were toy franchises, lots of merchandise to get your hands on, lots of merchandise I was excited about. I was excited about seeing Terminator 2 when it came out. And I would have been 10 or 11 when it came out. I'd already seen Terminator 1 a number of times. I mean, granted, we had easy access to movies in our household. We had... My uncle's a video pirate. We had many, many movies. Anything that was out of Blockbuster, he just put on VHS and gave us. So we'd seen a lot, and my parents were pretty easy about this sort of stuff. So Terminator was commonplace. And I was excited about Terminator 2, but not just me. All the other kids I knew were excited about Terminator 2 coming out. You know, the original was like a horror sci-fi of horrific proportions, some of it. I know they put a blockbuster spin on the second one, but even still, you think, how can we market this to young people? We were so excited, and awesome it was. We watched it on a boat crossing. One of the things that was cool about boat crossings is kids could watch anything on the open waters. So there was no like age restrictions, or maybe there were, but on all the boat crossings we used to go to France quite a lot during those days. No one gave monkeys, so we toured Terminator 2, and it was amazing. It blew my mind at the time. Absolutely fantastic. Got the VHS as soon as that came out for my birthday or the following Christmas when it was released. It probably seemed like ages in those days because some VHSs didn't come out as quickly as like Blu-rays and DVDs do now, but that was extremely exciting and watched that to death, of course. Beautiful pan and scan VHS. I can't remember anything being a problem with the video quality in those days. I don't even know if we had stereo sound in our telly, but whatever, it was great at the time. I think like most people in my age group, that's lessened over the years. Terminator 2 has become... I still love a lot of things about it, but it seems a little bit mild, I guess, with the introduction of the young John Connor. I don't know. It's a bit more family orientated. I mean, it's not. I know it's probably a 15 or whatnot. There's some horrific scenes, but so Terminator 1, the original, is really where it's at, and nothing that's preceded Terminator 2 has really come close to any of those. I remember Terminator 3 coming out, getting excited about that. We trolled along to the cinema, and at the time, it seemed fairly enjoyable. A bit of a lukewarm retreading of Terminator 2. The crane chase scene was amazing. It really was a fantastic set piece, but it really peaked at that point. There wasn't a lot more to it. A little bit cheesy in places. The horrific scene where he goes into the strip bar at the beginning, all the talk to the hand stuff. I'm back! That sort of thing. You're like, what's going on here? Claire Danes. I'm sure she was hot property at the time. I don't think there's any problems with her, but she appeared middle-aged. Who's the lady that played the Terminatrix? I mean, what a horrible tag name. Kristana Loken, was it? Apologies if I got that wrong. I think she did the best she could, actually. I thought she was actually quite good in the movie. I don't think any of the players, I don't think it was any of their fault that the movie wasn't quite what we wanted. I actually think that the idea of a infiltration unit being, as a guy, an infiltration unit being a female is pretty smart. If it's purely espionage, I don't really think they've got any sort of, the Terminator's got any sort of qualms about killing people. Females doing espionage, I can understand, but if you're actually a killing machine and you can just slaughter anyone in your path, I don't think you need to be too crafty. So like the scene where her tits expand for the police officer and whatnot, I mean, she could have just offed him just as easily. Why bother having that sort of preamble? Anyway, it's not their fault. Terminator 3, lukewarm. One thing I will say about Terminator 3, when I got my first, I got a high definition CRT television, pre-HDMI, so component inputs, good display, progressive scan, and 1080i, but we're dealing with progressive scan here. When the first movie I stuck in to look at the progressive scan was Terminator 3 Rise of Machines. Fantastic, absolutely fantastic transfer on DVD. Probably the best DVD I've ever watched. Amazing. And it absolutely blew my mind. Enabled the progressive scan. I've never seen anything like it. 32-inch HD CRT. It was absolutely fantastic. I've never seen anything like it until high definition rolled around. Fantastic day. So I do have good memories attached with that movie, but lukewarm. As the years roll on, Terminator Salvation. Now, what do we say? So the idea of the future war in a movie at last being set then, fantastic. Couldn't be more excited about that. Absolutely thrilling. It wasn't to be, was it? Everything was brown. A lot of stuff was shot in daytime. We didn't want that. You want the pink lasers. You want the hunter killers. You know, they introduce these new robots. He's putting USB sticks into Terminator motorbikes. Some of the shooting was very flat as well. McGee, you know, when I come out of the cinema, I thought my life had ended. One of my friends is a big Terminator fan as well at the same time. We just thought, this is one of the biggest piles of shit we've ever seen. I've softened over the years. I've probably seen it 10 to 15 times. Got the Blu-ray, of course. I like putting it on now and again. It's got some good stuff in there. It's got some good stuff. Christian Bale, I don't know. He doesn't seem quite the ticket in it, but there are some good scenes. I've definitely softened over the years. There's some horrible cheesy stuff. Like he's still listening to Guns N' Roses. I don't know why I see that problem. It just didn't seem right. He's putting the USB stick in. There's that horrible chase scene with the sort of air drone chasing matey, I can't think what his name is, and the young Carl Reese. Horrendous scenes. But I've softened on that over the years. Not too bad. I quite enjoy it now. Michael Ironside puts in a good turn as always. Terminator Genesis, I don't really want to talk about that too much. It was a good watch at the cinema, but it's a really horrendous movie. It completely ruined by the trailer, any sort of suspense. If I'd seen the twist during the movie, I might have gone, oh, okay, that's quite interesting. But the fact that it already spoiled that in the trailer, absolutely horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. I watch it now and again, but whatever. And here we are. So, it's coming around again. So we're starting at Terminator 2. This is a direct sequel to Terminator 2, right? Terminator Dark Fate. So we've got Linda Hamilton returning, reprising the role of Sarah Connor. Arnold in an unknown. We think he's a T-800. A lot of questions there. We've got this new character, Danny Ramos, who's going to be the saviour of the future. I've seen a lot of hate directed toward this movie. Projections are not good either. Davis, I mean, she's a fine actress. The few things I've seen her in, I think she's pretty good. So she seems to be this sort of augmented character. I've seen her called the Whaminator. A little bit unpleasant. There seems to be a little bit of wokeness attached to this movie. You know, not a problem having a social conscience, but really, you know, we're looking for horror and action. We don't really need a social justice message. We've seen... So they've actually got quite a gnarly poster here with all the main players. That's pretty cool, but we've seen this guy. I can't think what his Terminator designation's called, but I've seen him called the T-1000, because he seems to be of Hispanic descent. Mildly amusing. So he's got a fixed body. So he's got this. He's got the traditional robotic skeleton with a an outer layer, I suppose, that can separate a liquid metal. Strange design, quite interesting. The computer graphics do not look good. There seems to be a scene where he's like running about in the Mexican border, stabbing up the guards there. They're just doing a job. You know, they're just doing their job. I'm sure they're not doing anything untowards. So November 1st, that's coming out. What do we think? Well, hopefully I'll be there first day. Hopefully. I'm excited to see it, regardless of it being absolutely arseholes or not. But regardless if it is, it's not going to diminish anything from the past. You know, you've always got Terminator 1, Terminator 2, of which there's many Laserdisc releases, which is very exciting. Of course, you can get it on a whole raft of formats, but obviously Laserdisc is where it's at. So I think we'll start with the ones I've got on Laserdisc. I've got the first two Terminators, of which I've got 2 editions. The first one I picked up was this very nice looking Japanese release. So, you know, regardless of whether you like watching your Laserdiscs, I know one of the big appeal is the covers and whatnot, and you don't really get much better than this one. You know, superb scene. So traditional Terminator 1 artwork. Arnie there on the front, looking pretty fucking badass. Sorry, there's potentially going to be a bit of glare from the screen. That's why I'm holding this at janky angles, but pretty cool artwork all around. This has got digital sound. The picture's quite soft. On a CRT, it looks pretty good. You pump it up to 50 inches or a projector, and it's pretty soft. Not the ideal way to watch Terminator, so I wouldn't recommend this for viewing, but definitely recommend it for the superb visage, should we say. Fantastic. What I would recommend is this one. So THX release, NTSC-U, so NTSC-U from America. And actually, my recommended way of watching Terminator 1, or my preferred, shall I say. Absolutely fantastic release. Terminator from Image Entertainment. Image have released many Laserdiscs over the years. This one, like the other ones, got the traditional mono sound, which is how it was in theatres. I know some of the DVD and Blu-ray releases have fudged 5.1 surround tracks. Yeah, never been convinced by that. The mono sound's the way to go. It sounds fantastic, especially with that sort of grimy synth. It sounds great. Superb. Fantastic image quality as well on this release. I watched this at 50 inches on a plasma, and it's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Superb release. Hemdale, a major independent. Interesting, bit of an oxymoron, but whatever. So on to Terminator 2. So when I first got my, I'll tell you a little bit of a sub story about my initial foray into Laserdiscs. So I bought a couple of Laserdiscs in the early 2000s. One was called Rock Adventure, and the other one was called Pastel Color. And these sort of strange presentation discs by Pioneer. I didn't have a player at this point. I just thought I'd seen Laserdiscs in the past. I'll get some. I'll tell you my actual first introduction to Laserdisc was something called the Doomsday Project. I know there's a project, I don't know if I'm getting confused with that, because there's a project now to completely restore this, not just do a capture of it, but to completely get the absolute most perfect preservation of this. So we had it in our school. It was an industrial Laserdisc player attached to a BBC Master or Micro, one of the early BBC Acorn machines. And it was like a census, had a lot of information about the UK and a bit of history, that sort of thing. Strange. We were only ever shown it once, but it was the first time I ever saw a Laserdisc. You know, it has sort of Laserdisc footage and stills and a bit and some data. Very strange. Very rare now. I think, as I understand it, a lot of the players specifically built for that have broken down. Hence why there's this restoration project. So I always thought that was really interesting. Years later, I thought, okay, we'll buy some of these discs just for a laugh, really cheap. I think they're about £5 a piece, if that. These sort of strange. They're basically sort of pastel colour, seems to be like, and Rock Adventure. They're kind of like, it's footage of like motor cars. I don't know why you get this sort of stuff on Laserdisc. You don't really get this sort of thing anymore, like motor cars, hot air balloons. It's power boats to like rock music. Pastel colour's a bit more sort of downbeat, a bit more earthy, but yeah, interesting. So another year or two goes by. I decided to get a player. My first 2 players came completely destroyed, or maybe one of them did. Well, the first one came and it had one of the fantastic or popular something rather errors. There wasn't any information about this sort of stuff at the time that I could garner. So I had to send the player back to the guy and get a refund, but I kept the discs it came with. Second player come, completely destroyed. The guy had put a Laserdisc loose in a box and stacked a pile this high of discs on top, and it completely, the top had dented in, like the top of the car had gone down a cliff, destroyed the player. Complete refund. Third time lucky, got a player in the box, still got it now. CLD D95 is my main driver. Fantastic multi-purpose player, one of the last released in the UK. And so one of the first discs I was big into was, obviously, Terminator 2 Judgment Day. This is a PAL edition, which was given a fantastic gatefold release. You can see some of this. Now, what I like about these gatefold releases, often you get sort of promotional stills, you get shots and whatnot that were not in the movie. So this is the theatrical cut, given the gatefold treatment. Picture quality is fantastic. Now, sometimes the PAL discs really do benefit from an extra bit of resolution, maybe. Maybe that's what it is. But this is fantastic. I remember, obviously, I had a DVD plugged in the time. I was watching it on a 21-inch 4.3 CRT. S-video to SCART, so a lot of TVs and a lot of SCART sockets on TVs that can take S-video over here. And it was like watching an RGB image from a DVD. Picture quality was fantastic. Absolutely amazing. And it still is. This is a great release. Highly recommended if you're able to watch PAL discs. More recently, also got the theatrical release in a later pickup, so nearly like 15 years later, maybe more. I got this American release, which is also actually one thing, isn't it? I don't know why it says it's nothing personal. To who? So, years later, this year, I picked up this one in a lot. This is, again, Terminator 2 Judgment Day, but this is the NTSC version, and more interesting, unlike the last one, which was Prologic surround sound, which is fantastic, by the way. This is it's widescreen, but you get discrete 5.1 Dolby Digital surround sound on this one. 2 discs, not given the gatefold treatment. That was reserved for the special edition for the USA. But of course, we do have a special edition, and the big kahuna of all the Terminator releases. Very popular in people's collections, not ridiculously expensive to buy because they've printed this by the fucking load. Really, the humongous of box sets. So plain black, looking cool, almost like a leatherette. Got the gold edition. You can also get this in silver, blue, and kind of like a coppery rose gold. Thick. So, I'm sure I've seen this before, but I'll show it again. So you get this cool box inside. So the T800 and the endoskeleton T800. Sorry for the glare. Very cool. Then on the inside you get the discs. So it's spread over a number of discs. I think the movie's actually on 2 discs, 3 sides perhaps. And then there's an absolute jobs lot of special features up at the wazoo. There's like freeze frame documentation you can go through and pictures, storyboarding. Oh my god, it's ridiculous. So probably one of the best box sets on Laserdisc there. Super cool. My preferred way of watching Terminator 2. Even though we've got the Blu-rays and whatnot, the picture quality on that is fantastic. Watched it projected a number of times. It is dynamite. So what we're going to do next is have a quick look on the Laserdisc database, which is the main repository for Laserdisc information. You can basically see all of the Laserdisc releases that people have catalogued to date and their catalog numbers, all the information about discs. We'll just get a grasp of how many releases of Terminator there are on Laserdisc, which is insane. I'll see you there. So we've come to the Laserdisc database, which is the mecca for all Laserdisc related items. At last count, I think there's at least 30 editions of Terminator 2 Judgment Day on Laserdisc. So we're on page 1 of 2 here. A few other formats are mixed in. It covers HD, DVD, D-Theatre, which is high definition VHS, and something else we'll touch on in a minute, I'll show you. But yeah, over 30 Terminator 2 Judgment Days. So it really is one of the flagship pieces on Laserdisc. Obviously, there's a lot of regions here. I mean, there's a lot of regional differences, but look at the amount. I mean, there's 2 pages here. The amount they're released in like the USA and also Japan. The specs here. Good thing about the site, it gives you the specs. So it gives you sort of all the details. Is it widescreen or pan and scan? The types of surround sound, i.e. AC3, that's Dolby Digital or Pro Logic. Is it a THX disc? CAV, squeeze. So I'll take you through some of them that I've not got. So the first one comes down to, this is a squeeze one. So if you're not familiar with the squeeze format on Laserdisc, so most Laserdiscs, they play in a 4:3 frame. So they're designed for, I guess, what you might use to call square TVs. So they display letterbox and square TVs. Squeeze Laserdiscs are designed for widescreen displays. They will not display correctly on square or 4:3 TVs. What it literally means is the image info is squeezed into the 4:3 frame, but when you play it on a widescreen television, it opens up all the available resolution there. So that's pretty cool. It's strange that Laserdisc didn't adopt widescreen format, well, full widescreen instead of letterbox a bit more, but guess it was in a bit of a transitional phase there. So that's the squeeze offering. I'll go through some of the other more interesting releases that I've not got. So this is a high definition Laserdisc. So if you're not familiar with High Vision LD or Muse, it's on that format, and you can see this one come out in 1993. So the high vision or the high definition Laserdisc actually predates things like Dolby Digital or DTS. So yeah, quite expensive as well, $300. Can't play this on a standard Laserdisc player. You need a high definition supporting Laserdisc player. One of the few Muse players out there. So that's a pretty interesting release. This is the special edition, the standard special edition. So I guess the same movie that's in the box set, but basically just the movie. And look, these are the additional bits and bobs. So it's just not quite as glamorous as the massive box set, but the same version of the movie. And there's all these sort of other types as well. Look at this. This is a special edition promotional trailer disc. Here we go. Terminator Jew. What have I been watching? Terminator 2 prologue of. So this is an 18-minute making of. I think this is a 8-inch disc, I believe. Yeah, 8-inch LD single. See some of the info about it there. So that's a nice little promotional piece I need to grab. This is very similar. The Secret of Terminator 2. Also on 8-inch LD. This is one I really need to get. This is pretty cool. So this is the special edition, but the Japanese release. So just go to the next page here. You can see the insane amount of releases here. So look, up to 30, which is pretty grand. And they're still releasing it now. I don't know if I just click onto one here. This is the artwork that was used for the most recent 4K restoration. So they did a 4K Blu-ray. It was out in the cinemas, and also a 3D rendition for the cinemas and Blu-ray. Obviously, going to have to pick that up at some point, because for sure you need every version of the Terminator movie that there ever were. Should we have a quick look at the original Terminator, maybe? Not Alien Terminator. So for the OG Terminator, so that's probably under the Terminator. Fair number of releases, but obviously not quite up to the amount that Terminator 2 garnered. Quite a few differences for region here, but one thing that is, the artwork stays pretty much the same throughout all of these releases, unlike Terminator 2. So nothing too spectacular there. You don't need to pick all these up. Well, maybe you do if you're extreme, but nah. So yeah, that's enough of the Laserdisc database, and thank you very much for watching.
Let's get terminated. Da, 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 da. Let's get terminated. Na, 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 yeah.